Hi, my name's Dave Clark, and I'm working with Project5 on a series of podcasts to help anyone working in the NHS to access a range of one-to-one support and self-help resources. In this episode, we look at the notion of being a frontline hero. Is this a useful phrase, or does it imply ideas of bravery and failure that may lead to unnecessary feelings of guilt and anxiety? Join me as I speak with Dr Craig Newman. Can you just tell me a little bit about the thinking behind stress and distress and what that might mean and how people might sort of recognise that in themselves?
So actually, it wasn't without some guidance to kind of think of that language. So, stress, I think, is a very common occupational health term, and often is a term used kind of to connect people with coaches and with occupational health departments. And the word distress, interestingly, is the word that the British Psychology Society chose to use in place of diagnostic names. So rather than describing people as depressed or anxious,
Yep.
which we know actually creates stigma and creates a barrier for people to get into help, the word distress is kind of more inviting and more all embracing. You can, if you're distressed, it's just a kind of thing that you feel.
Sure.
But if you have to identify as having a mental health problem or as being depressed or anxious or traumatized, you have to take a step of putting yourself into a category, and then you have to then accept the kind of ramifications of that. What does it mean to be depressed if you're an ICU consultant? It might be very difficult to be able to accept that and feel you're competent to get on with your job, or that even accepting that out loud could it mean you aren't allowed to go and do your job. So I think that those terms for us are terms we think that people are familiar with. They're used in work contexts, but also they're recognized to kind of be supportive of people getting help outside of the problems that stigma create and the barriers of mental health.
Do you think the use of the word hero is true? Is it relevant? Is it potentially dangerous? Because does it lead us down to this road where being a hero implies hardship, bravery, conquering, and in actual fact, those aspects can in themselves be challenging and they can cause feelings of anxiety and fear?
I think that language always has to be kind of analyzed in respect to what it serves. So, maybe the narrative of heroes is helpful for the public. I think that maybe there hasn't been enough attention on the value of the NHS team. The NHS often gets a lot of criticism in the media, gets blamed for a lot of the things that go wrong. I think it could serve our relationship with the NHS and how much we value the NHS to kind of put that label on it. The question you're asking is, what's the cost of that for the kind of mental health or the personal self-care of the NHS team? And obviously, I can't speak for every NHS team member. There might be team members who really embrace being represented as a hero. I think that there are challenges to that. Yes, I would agree. I think that, if you're a hero, does that imply that you can't stop?
Mm-hmm.
Or that heroes can't and if you do stop, does that imply you're not strong or you're not brave? And I think there's definitely a risk of that, but I'm not entirely sure that that's an easy thing to fix. I think that that organizations can do things internally to kind of combat that, to kind of create routes for people to get support and to empower people, and to also normalize. It's very important, I think, that people perceive emotional and mental health need as a normal thing. And that has to some degree been done for war heroes, actually. So I think people kind of generally accept that war heroes can get psychological distress and can be psychologically hurt by their experiences. So I'm not convinced they're totally separate. I do wonder though about the war analogy if for the staff, and whether that creates a problem, because I particularly think about inclusivity when I talk about that. So, I am at the moment supporting people that are in primary care who are not even in COVID areas, who are really exhausted. They're saying that their teams they're really struggling to get on with each other because they're so tired. Some people are very afraid, but I don't think they would connect that they're in a war. In many ways, they've got less activity than they had before, but they are working long hours as they've done for a long time, going home to no liberty, to children and families that have been waiting for them all day and don't have access to the ways they probably decompressed before. I think that there is something going on, but yes, language and the way we describe it, sometimes we have to be careful about that. I think for Project5, it doesn't really serve us as to whether we use the words like heroes or bravery. To me, this is about supporting people at work. So everybody, a nurse, a doctor, these are professionals, these are people at work. And I have the same view of, I worked in the NHS for 22 years, and I perceive every single person in that organization as crucial, whether it's admin, cleaners, porters. I mean, I can't imagine how an ICU ward can function without any of those.
Sure.
Yeah, but also the entire system. So Project5 is basically saying, we really value the NHS, and not just value it, but we're absolutely dependent on it. Actually, we cannot risk the NHS falling apart now or after COVID, at any point. And there's been lots of pressures on the NHS for a long time, financial, but actually psychological, and stress has been a common feature that probably hasn't got a lot of noise, and the awareness has been lifted at this point. Project5 is saying, we need the NHS to function. We need these people to stay at work, but we need them to stay at work because they're supported, they're fit, they've got the opportunity to release pressure and to get the right type of support. And that has nothing to do with bravery. That just seems truly common sense. Like, we want this NHS to be going, and we want everyone in it to feel at the end of it that they were valued, and that, we don't want that risk where people feel like, I've done enough. I mean, that is what happens to a lot of, this is one of the analogies, this idea of war. I have supported veterans with PTSD. I've not supported in my career a veteran with PTSD who was still in the military. We do not want to get to the end of this and all the NHS staff who've got mental health problems to leave. We want to actually put in something very early, and it will change. Project5, I don't believe what we're offering now will be the same in 6 months, because we'll be learning what we need to offer and what works best. But the more we offer it, and the earlier we offer it, and the fitter we get the team, and the more we enable them to reach out and connect, and the fitter we get the system, the more chance we've got that actually that system, that organization will survive, and the people in it will feel like they got through it. And that's the aim. And I think that, that for me, that equality of recognizing everyone in the system as equally valuable is something I really want them to hear, because I think that's lost in the media a little bit.
What are your key milestones for the next couple of weeks?
Well, our first milestone is to slow down. We built this in insane speed, and actually the credit to the team is phenomenal. I'd be surprised if there's ever been an organization of this scale that's built this fast to this standard. And so now, that they often talk about storming, norming, and performing in kind of business language. That might even be a very outdated concept, but definitely we're moving into a kind of, we need to normalize how we work. So we're working now to understand, what is Project5 as a really stable, sustainable entity? What level of work can a volunteer group do that they feel they're contributing, but they can still contribute to their own lives and work and be successful. And what would it need to be for this to be able to survive right through and to support the staff in this way after COVID? Because actually, I think that what we've proven is there was a gap. So we've just got this phenomenal collective genius, I think, that are going to actually solve a problem that's probably needed to be solved for decades.
Craig, thanks very much for talking to us.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
My thanks go to Dr. Craig Newman for talking to us. This is a How production for Project5. By sharing this podcast among your colleagues, friends and family, you can help more people access the support that we may all need from time to time.